Welcome to a real-life action story, where justice doesn't just come from the courtroom, but begins right at your front gate. In today's video, you'll witness what appeared to be a legal HOA eviction, completely overturned by an ordinary man and his older brother, who just so happens to be the county sheriff. If you believe the truth deserves to be heard, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video, and most importantly, leave a comment below. Your voice is the power that protects justice. Let's get started. I was in the middle of frying bacon when I heard the crunch of tires grinding against gravel outside. 1, 2, no, 5 black SUVs slammed to a stop right in front of my gate like it was a federal raid. Blinding LED headlights beamed straight through my kitchen window. My heart thudded, not from fear, but from the thick scent of trouble hanging in the air like gasoline fumes. I set the skillet down and stepped onto the porch. 5 men in black uniforms exited the vehicles. No official badges on their chests, just bold white letters, HOA Enforcement Division. One of them, tall, broad, face like poured concrete, stepped forward with a stack of papers in hand. "You are unlawfully occupying property under HOA jurisdiction," he said, voice flat and dry like sandpaper. "This eviction order has been approved by the board. You have 15 minutes to gather your belongings." I froze. "Where's the court order?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. He held up a stamped document. From the HOA, no county seal, no judge's signature, just a typed letter signed in pen by Karen Whitmore, president of the Evergreen Pines Community Council. A name I knew too well and had grown too tired of. Karen had shown up at my door 2 months ago, demanding quarterly HOA fees, a fresh coat of paint for my fence, and, most absurdly, that I remove the American flag from the front yard pole. I declined, politely but firmly. And from that moment, hell began to unravel. I stared down the makeshift HOA police surrounding my house like I was some dangerous felon. The lead guy gave a signal. Another stepped forward, handcuffs in hand. "I'm not resisting," I said. "I'm simply requesting the right to make a phone call." "Not necessary," he replied. "That right doesn't apply under civil enforcement per HOA bylaws." I let out a dry laugh. "The only things you have are matching uniforms and a stack of paper with zero legal weight." He stepped closer. A big mistake. I calmly slid my hand into my jacket pocket and pressed a small button. Inside the living room, my pre-programmed security system began live-streaming the entire confrontation to my Facebook page, and more importantly, triggered an emergency signal straight to my brother's phone. The man the entire county knows by one name, Sheriff Cole Anderson. 45 seconds later, I heard it, the siren, distant but firm. A thunderous roar cutting through the staged authority standing on my driveway. The commander turned, frowning. "What the hell is that?" I crossed my arms, leaned against the porch beam, and locked eyes with him, my gaze cold as steel. "You made 2 mistakes," I said. "You picked the wrong house, and the wrong man to intimidate." I didn't shout. I didn't flinch. But I knew. Within minutes, Karen's little charade was about to come crashing down. It all started on a scorching afternoon in early March, when Karen Whitmore showed up at my doorstep, holding a stack of documents thicker than the military field manual I carried during my service days. She was dressed as if she were on her way to a city council interview, white blazer skirt suit, silver-rimmed glasses, and a voice as sweet as artificial sugar, but sharper than a straight razor. She didn't introduce herself at first, just pointed to the paper and said, "We're pleased to inform you that your neighborhood has now been integrated into the Evergreen Pines HOA. These are the new regulations. Please sign here to initiate your quarterly maintenance fee, $950, plus a lifestyle enhancement support charge." I glanced over the document, then looked her straight in the eye. I never voted for any HOA, and this land was passed down from my father in 1985. It doesn't fall under any redevelopment zone. She kept smiling, but her eyes dropped several degrees colder. "You have the right to decline, but I must warn you, non-compliance with the board may lead to legal consequences, including administrative fines, suspension of utility services, and property seizure." I didn't respond. I simply shut the door. That was the last time I saw Karen, acting like a polite woman. In the following weeks, I started receiving warning letters from something calling itself the Community Oversight Committee. No return address, no verifiable phone number. The letters listed absurd violations: grass exceeding 2.5 inches in height, flying the American flag after 6 p.m., even noise disturbance caused by lawnmower usage on Saturday mornings. Then came the virtual fines, $150 for aesthetic violations related to wood fencing. The check I sent in protest was returned with a note: incorrect HOA fine payment procedure. I knew this wasn't about regulations anymore. This was psychological warfare, a test of endurance designed to break me down. I forwarded all the letters to my brother, Cole Anderson, the county sheriff. He confirmed that Evergreen Pines HOA had no valid registration on file with the county administrative office. In other words, it was a self-appointed organization with no legal standing. I asked him if there was anything he could do. He shook his head and said, "Until they trespass or do something explicitly unlawful, I can't step in as sheriff. But if it escalates, I'll be there personally." I know Cole. He keeps his word like a trigger keeps its pull. I began installing security cameras around the house, mounted mock warning signs, archived every piece of correspondence, filmed any strangers loitering around the fence, every time I was stalked after dark, every unfamiliar vehicle parked near the gate. Once, I caught a drone hovering right outside my kitchen window, exactly where I usually worked. I swatted it down with a tennis racket. Inside, I found a memory card and a small logo labeled EPS, Evergreen Private Surveillance. I no longer had any doubts. They were watching, they were preparing, and they truly believed I'd cave. But I've served in war zones where the line between life and death was a single heartbeat. If they thought I'd surrendered to a piece of paper and a few men in shiny black uniforms, then they didn't know who I was, and they definitely didn't know. My brother would come the second I pressed the button. About a week after the drone incident, I received an envelope marked clearly in bold letters: Final Enforcement Notice. Immediate compliance required. Inside was a thick document printed in glaring red ink like a bomb threat. I read it line by line, stifling a bitter laugh. According to this notice, I was illegally occupying space under the jurisdiction of Evergreen Pines HOA, disrupting the community's aesthetic uniformity, and refusing to cooperate with the legally authorized enforcement board. At the bottom was a deadline: 72 hours to vacate the premises, or mandatory enforcement action will be taken. I looked up the case number, EP1192C, printed in the top corner. Nothing matched any local court records. I called the county office. They confirmed no eviction order had ever been issued to my address. The signature at the bottom belonged to one Travis R. Malloy, title, Director of Community Enforcement Operations. My memory clicked. Travis Malloy used to be a mall security guard in the southern part of the county, fired after beating a shopper with a baton over a parking violation. My brother had even arrested him once during an illegal eviction attempt years back. Now it was clear. Karen had hired a man with a violent record, posing as an enforcement director for a non-legitimate HOA, to force me off my land. But it didn't stop with letters. They launched a psychological pressure campaign. One night, a vehicle's high beams were pointed directly at my bedroom window for over an hour. When I stepped outside, the car vanished. One morning, I noticed the eastern side of my fence had been disassembled, plank by plank. No break-in, no theft. Just a message. I even found a discreet GPS tracker stuck under my pickup truck, the kind only someone with military or security training would know how to plant. I handed all the data to my brother, Sheriff Cole. He studied my hand-drawn maps, my log entries, the security footage. Then he said just one sentence: "If they make one more move without proper legal documentation, I'm stepping in." As sheriff, no second warning. I clenched my fists. This wasn't harassment anymore. This was a coordinated eviction plan, orchestrated and manipulated under the name of an HOA. I upgraded the cameras, installed perimeter sensors, and placed small flashbang light traps at the back door and equipment shed, not to harm anyone, but to stun and mark intruders. Strictly defensive. I didn't inform them, didn't respond to the 72-hour deadline. I wanted to see, would they actually go through with it? And right on time, 72 hours later, like clockwork, they came. 5 unmarked black SUVs, men in black tactical gear wearing sunglasses, earpieces. One carried a so-called eviction order with a cheap HOA logo, rubber stamped like it came from a discount office printer. They said I had 15 minutes to gather my things, or else they'd use force. I said nothing, just took one step back and slipped my hand into my jacket pocket. Inside was a small remote, a single button, and with one press, the storm they were about to unleash would be live-streamed across the entire state. The sky that day was strangely clear, peaceful to the point of feeling fake, like the surface of a lake right before a grenade drops to the bottom. I stood in the middle of my front yard, eyes locked on the 5 men stepping out of their black SUVs. One wore a jacket with HOA Enforcement Division printed on the back. The rest were dressed like paramilitary operatives, tactical boots, black gloves, shoulder-mounted radios. The leader held a pair of cuffs in one hand and a crumpled stack of paper in the other, which he boldly referred to as a legal eviction order. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I pressed the button in my coat pocket. From the porch and lampposts around the house, security cameras came to life all at once, activating a live stream on my personal YouTube account. A small line of text appeared in the corner. Live, 426 viewers, and rising. The lead man, Travis Malloy, walked straight toward me, speaking in a voice so hollow, it sounded like he'd recited this line 100 times. According to Enforcement Clause 47B of the Evergreen Pines HOA, you are required to vacate the premises immediately. Any refusal will be met with compliance procedures. I folded my arms, my gaze calm, so calm it seemed to unsettle them. Clause 47. B doesn't exist in civil code, and your HOA has never been registered in this county. I verified that with the local authorities, and right now, I'm live streaming your impersonation of law enforcement. Travis raised an eyebrow. One of the men behind him tightened his grip on a stun gun. One more move, and I'd have all the evidence I needed for a federal investigation. Then it happened. One of them stepped forward, hand brushing against his weapon. At that exact moment, at the far end of the dusty red road, sirens blared, loud, unmistakable. 3 county patrol cars tore down the path, lights flashing with authority. The first man to step out was none other than my brother, Sheriff Cole Anderson, in full uniform, hand resting on his holstered sidearm, eyes sharp as a blade. Stand down. All of you are under investigation for unlawful entry and impersonating public officials. Travis turned, took half a step back, but not fast enough. Cole and 2 deputies closed in immediately, subduing the entire so-called HOA enforcement team. One was cuffed on the spot. Another tried to flee, only to be dropped with a clean, crushing knee takedown. Then Karen emerged from the back seat of one of the SUVs. Gone was the air of authority. What stood now was a trembling middle-aged woman, eyes wide with panic. She started to step out, but was immediately blocked by a female deputy who ordered firmly, "Remain in the vehicle. You are being detained for questioning." I turned toward the live stream camera, my voice low and steady. They came to evict me from my own home, but I wasn't fighting alone. I had the truth, I had the law, and I had a brother who doesn't bow to anyone hiding behind a fake badge. A minute later, as Cole gave the all clear, I ended the live stream. Over 40,000 people had tuned in, and one thing was certain, many more would know the truth after today. 40. That morning, after the entire HOA enforcement team had been cuffed and taken away, I stood in the middle of my yard. From a distance, I could see my neighbors pulling back their curtains, watching. Some even recorded the scene on their phones, as if they couldn't quite believe what had just unfolded. It was all clear as day. 5 men in fake uniforms, a woman posing as an HOA president, and an illegal eviction plot shattered, not by a SWAT team, but by an ordinary citizen with enough clarity of mind, and a brother who still believed in the rule of law. That same day, Sheriff Cole personally submitted every piece of evidence, the live stream footage, GPS tracker, threatening letters, and forged maps, to the Federal Investigation Bureau. Simultaneously, media outlets began picking up the story. News of a fake HOA using armed force to evict homeowners quickly spread, landing on major headlines across the state. Karen Whitmore was indicted on 7 charges, including impersonating a government organization, attempted extortion, invasion of privacy, and threats against a civilian. Travis Malloy, the man leading the armed unit, was charged with impersonating law enforcement, unlawful possession of weapons, and conspiracy in illegal enforcement operations. Further investigations revealed that the Evergreen Pines HOA had never been legally registered. It was a front, created to deceive, threaten, and take land from scattered suburban homeowners. Their targets were carefully chosen: singles, the elderly, families with fewer resources to fight back. I wasn't the first, but thanks to my resistance, I would be the last. The county swiftly organized an emergency town hall meeting. I was invited to speak. At first, I declined. I've never cared for the spotlight, but Cole said to me, "They need to see that sometimes one ordinary person can do something extraordinary just by refusing to back down." So I stood before over 200 people, holding the old ball cap I wore on my final patrol shift at the border. I told them everything, not with fire, not with fury, just with truth. I'm not someone who looks for trouble. I just want peace. But when someone shows up at your doorstep, holding a weapon and a worthless piece of paper, telling you to leave your home, you can't back down. And if you think you're alone, remember, justice begins the moment someone dares to say no. The entire room rose in applause, not because I was eloquent, but because everyone knew, if they didn't act now, the next victim could be them. The following week, Karen appeared in court wearing a gray prison jumpsuit. Travis and his team faced federal prosecution. The fake HOA was dissolved, victims had their property rights restored, and the county established a special oversight group to ensure no organization could ever operate illegally again under the banner of community. As for me, I went back to the farm, took down the cameras, removed the traps, replanted the tomato beds that had been trampled during that chaotic night. And out front, I raised a new oak sign, hand-carved, letter by letter. This land wasn't just protected by law, it was protected by blood, truth, and the will to stand alone. I've never seen this place feel more peaceful, not because the threats are gone, but because now I know the truth won. This story isn't just a gripping showdown between a citizen and a fraudulent HOA. It's a powerful reminder of rights, responsibilities, and the strength of the individual in a democratic society. It underscores a sobering truth. Silence in the face of wrongdoing is never a safe option. The first, and perhaps most striking message is this: never let the appearance of legality blind you to the truth. Karen and her group engineered a near-perfect illusion of authority. Uniforms, paper orders, even a fabricated enforcement division. But behind it all was a web of deception designed to manipulate, intimidate, and seize. We live in an era where information can be faked, laws distorted, and evil cloaked in the robe of procedure. That makes it even more crucial for every person to stay alert, question what seems official, and never accept surface legitimacy without verification. Second, this story delivers a deeply human value. Family and community are both the first and last lines of defense against injustice. The protagonist didn't stand alone. He had a brother, a sheriff, who believed in him, listened to him, and showed up when it mattered. That support wasn't just about rank or badge. It was a testament to the power of good people standing together. In life, we all need a Cole, someone unafraid to stand for what's right, even if it means going up against an institution. The third lesson is highly practical. Document everything, gather evidence, and know the law, because that's how you protect yourself before anyone else can. The protagonist didn't react with rage. He reacted with strategy. He installed cameras, kept logs, verified facts, and launched the live stream at the perfect moment. His preparedness turned a threatening situation into a stunning reversal. In the real world, many suffer because they have no proof, no legal knowledge, or ignore early warning signs. Awareness is power. Finally, the most profound message. Justice doesn't just reside in the hands of the courts. It begins with one individual who dares to say no. No one required the protagonist to fight. He could have stayed silent, moved out, or given in, but he didn't. Not out of defiance, but because he understood this. If he gave in today, someone else would suffer tomorrow. That courage is a call to all of us. Sometimes it only takes one person standing up to change everything. And if there's one takeaway that should be etched into memory, it's this. Never let anyone take away your right to live peacefully on your own land, whether through threats or a false title. If this story made you think about property rights, justice, and the courage it takes to stand up to what's wrong, don't leave in silence. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with others who also deserve protection from those who abuse power. Do you relate to my experience, admire Sheriff Cole, or have a different perspective? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, whether positive or critical, because your voice is an important part of the fight for truth. Thank you for watching all the way to the end.